I am super excited about this. I had to sort of restart the graphic design process of it on the program that I was using because I hadn't been using the right tools to make it work right. But kind of got it working today with a little help, and now I've got these. Oh, come on, get out there! Don't break it. Please don't break it. These need to be sanded down a little bit. They're a really tight fit. So these are the coasters that hold the mini stars. And the stars fit together into individual stars, each with a different pattern. So like this one's like this. And this one is a relative of it. Each of them has similarities to one of the previous stars. So this one does something similar, but it splits in the middle. And so you do that. And so each one fits together in just the right way. Now there are a couple pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's about 4 pieces that you can use interchangeably between 2 or more of the small coasters like these. But I mean, it doesn't really matter if they're in there or not. I mean, as long as they fit that pattern and they fit into the coaster, that works. And then I got the rest of these little pieces. But I want to see if I can assemble them while I'm chit-chatting so I can show you what the end result is. Here, I'll see if I can get this. But I'm super excited. That worked really well. And it's one of those things where, like, I think I was talking a couple times previously about how, like, I know if I just had like a whole day where I sat down and did nothing but this, I could I could go from design to product in a very short period of time. Maybe not a single day, but and this was sort of like an example of that, where I like the pieces, the design that these pieces are done in. I hand drew the lines for that in Inkscape, made the settings that it needed to do for the laser cutter, targeted the laser cutter, found the pieces of what I needed to do, got them into the laser cutter, set the distance of the lens, all the little fiddly bits you need to do, and then did a test fire and it did the engraving. And I had to dig through to see what the default settings were at in order to get it to cut rather than engrave. And once I got that all figured out, I mean, it was 40 minutes after I got in there when I started the first and final print that I needed to achieve. And it was like 40 minutes when it started the print. It took about 20 to 30 minutes to print. And I think some of the pieces went through completely without any issue. A few of the lower down on that, like it starts at the top and it works its way down. And as it got towards the bottom pieces were a little less likely to go all the way through. So I think that the distance off, whether or not the wood had a little warp to it, or if the protective piece on the bottom is angled too much. I don't know if it's angled at all, but when the laser goes over it, it doesn't go as far down into the wood. So like the back of the cutout pieces was like it went through, but just barely, and there's enough of the grain left connecting it that you have to take out a knife and cut out the last bit of the grain. And with the thin edges on some of these pieces, it makes for some cracking on here, which, I mean, it's not a big deal because I'll glue it to a base and it'll be fine. This is really only meant to hold the pieces in it. It doesn't have to be a tight fit. And it doesn't have to be like a clockwork mechanism. And I hit it with some sand, do a couple color washes. I think if I want to be really simple with this first one, I'm going to do a blue wash on this, white on the stars, and then the back of the coaster is going to be red and white stripes. And it'll just be the coaster pieces. Because I can get that done by tomorrow. I will potentially just, once I do that, I also have the possibility of doing there's a little wood booger in there that I need to get out. But there's the potential for doing the tray as a separate piece. And it also means that I could probably list this for less than I would for the full set. So probably like a $20, $25, maybe 30 with the tray. Don't break that. That's not where I want you to crack. Close enough. Close enough. Yeah. All right. And so I was going to assemble this. Yeah. That one goes there. And that one goes there. And then that one goes there. And there. See if I can get. So it's like I was a little worried, and like all these pieces need to be sanded. So the fit isn't always great right now because it's got the little wood boogers around the edges that need to be tended to. But did I do the right piece there? Yeah, okay. I'm trying to remember how my puzzle goes together. Yeah, I will have to include instructions on how to do this because it's one of those, if you don't always know what you're in for. I don't know what I'm in for. I designed it. And so I wouldn't want anybody to excitedly get this puzzle and not be able to figure it out. So I should probably include an instruction manual. I do think with the structure of the tray for the large star, that's not the right way. Where's my cheat sheet? Where's my cheat sheet? Some of these do not fit as good as they could because they need to be sanded. All right, so hopefully it holds together just enough so I can get the screen to point at it. That is the star made from all the little pieces that fit in each of those coasters. So 4 coasters of star pieces make this star. It's actually a little double star. There's a star inside a star. But all 4 of those coasters fit together into that one finished puzzle piece. And actually, I'll put this here, there, next to it for comparison. Oh, don't pop out the ones that I put back in there for storage, because then I'll lose the pieces. Trying to line that up. So there you go. So it's much bigger than the individual star from within the coaster. But I am I was so enthusiastic when it all came together like that. I had to take it out and make sure they sort of fit and get a sense for how it all goes together. And I can go get some little pieces of sandpaper, or even like emery boards, the nail files that you can get for super cheap at like Walmart or the dollar store for filing your nails. They're perfect for getting into small little spots and sanding off a little of the leftover pieces that clump and get in the way that won't let pieces lock together right. But I need to double check to the size of the larger star, so I know what size to cut the tray that'll hold it for the set. Maybe I'll even do that tomorrow. I may even make the larger star tray tomorrow. But yeah, I made it. I just need to do some washes and a coat of clear lacquer, and I'll post it up for sale at the end of the month here. And yeah, I'm loving it. Like I did. I hope those saved files stay on that computer and it doesn't get wiped at the end of the night. Because like I can revisit that pattern and cut as many of those as I want and list them up for sale on Etsy and eBay. And I feel like as I go, I'll get even better at getting a sense of that laser. Like I said, like the top ones it cut through fine. It was like it almost just fell through. You just tap it and they'd tip out. But the ones on the bottom, I had to take a knife to cut the backs on it so that it would break free of the back skin on the sheet. And it cracked a few of them. But like I said, if I sand those down, it doesn't matter because I'll be gluing them to the backs, the coaster portion of the coaster puzzle. So, I mean, they just have to be in the right arrangement and glued into place, cleaned up, all the rough edges cleaned up with a little sandpaper, and they're good to go. So, yeah, I mean, now that I've got the pattern worked out, I can make as many as I want. I mean, it's going to cost me for the wood sheet over time, but that's not super expensive. I believe occasionally, and the makerspace that I'm a member of is where I get access to the laser cutter. I have a membership there. I believe a lot of libraries are starting up maker spaces with a laser cutter and a 3D printer. I thought about 3D printing some of these pieces out, but the PLA probably wouldn't be great for anything with water on it. I don't know if, like, I know the ABS filament you can get for printing out 3D models is usually pretty good. It's the same stuff that Legos are made out of. You're still dealing with the striations in it from the layer laying down, but you can do a vapor, acetone vapor smoothing of that surface that should seal it well enough that you could use a 3D printed coaster that's been acetone smoothed. You'll still see some of those striations in the essentially the fiber of the structure of the 3D print. I'm not a huge fan of that necessarily. You could use a thin coat of epoxy, like a black epoxy, and then sand it smooth, and then give it a spray paint and spray lacquer, and that would probably work all right. But yeah, I'm not like if I wanted to do a plastic version of these, I will get a sheet of colored acrylic sheets and use the laser cutter to cut them out because I really do think that the laser cutting looks better than the 3D print would. Not that I wouldn't do a 3D print if somebody wanted one, but I'm not going to do a lot of them. Whereas, like, I think I could do a fair number of these laser cut pieces. I still love looking at it. Like, knowing that you succeeded and it went together. I just love the fact that Like the A-Team used to say, I love when a plan comes together. I dig that. That worked really nicely. I'm enthusiastic. And like I said, that's starting all over again when I walked in there this afternoon. I literally went up to the computer and said, all right, starting over again. I pulled up the editing file and I just clicked a tool. I didn't import a picture and I just started drawing the pieces I needed to do. Got all the pieces in the right alignment, did some test fires of the laser to see how it would handle that and the sizing as it was coming through. And it all worked out really nicely. And it took maybe, I think I went in there I left here at 6:30. Takes about a half an hour. And then, so I got there around 7. And from 7 to 8, yeah, it was about an hour from design, figure out an issue I was having with the device, resolve it, redesign, test fire, finish fire of the laser. Got these pieces out, took them out front, test fit all the pieces together and punched them out, used the knife to cut them out of the back. And like I left there at 8:45 and stopped for gas on the way back here. And here we are at almost 10 o'clock, but I started at about 9:30 here. And like it fits, it all works. And it's like from like brainstorming the idea and the design phase, that's the part that took the most time. And sometimes you have to go back and revisit those. Like if you come up with a design and you work on it and you go to the production or the engineering of it and you find there's a glitch or something that's not quite right, you may have to go back and redesign portions of it. Sort of what I did today. I went back and redesigned pieces. I couldn't use the files that I was using before because I had formatted them wrong, and so they wouldn't give me what I needed. So I just started over from scratch, and that worked. I mean, but the idea has been resolved pretty much since day 2. Day 1 of this project, this week project, was coming up with what I wanted to do, which was like a puzzle. And then by day 2, I had small puzzles that combine into a larger puzzle that are used as something useful, like a tray or coasters. And so by day 2, I had that idea. And by day 3, I narrowed it down to the first one of the type that I was going to make. And so those 3 days, the design aspect, and then literally like, a few failed attempts to get it to work right. But the actual building the files and making it was an hour and a half at most. Now, admittedly, sizing out the piece for the tray hasn't been fully realized yet. I mean, I've got the patterns for it now. I know what I need to do. It's just the same star at a different size. That's just basic geometry. So the question is, at that point, measuring the size. And then getting the laser to cut out the tray portion of it. And when it cuts out the tray portion of it, I may try to get it to cut all the individual pieces of another one of these stars. Because as much as this piece is going to fit into that larger piece, it might be nice to have a couple models of it around here to play with. I might give some to family or something. But I do want to sell a couple of them. And Yeah, I can, now that I have the design, and now I have a design that I know I can hit print on a laser cutter and it'll cut it. I can literally make as many of these as I need. The raw materials, we keep an eye on the local hardware stores where we get the sheet wood for it, and like when they have big sales, we buy large numbers of sheets of it for low prices. And we cut them like you get big pieces, and as a makerspace, uh, we have the means to break those sheets down into more reasonably manageable pieces for our tiny little laser cutter. And I mean, once you know how to do that, once you know the materials you can use, I want to try this. I do want to try this on acrylic, but once you know the materials you can do this on, I'd be curious. A lot of this is very close to just straight lines. There are a few times where you have a line that comes into an angle. I wonder if I could do this with stained glass. Ooh, man, that would be interesting. Like you'd have to put an edge on the pieces. Huh. I don't like. Hmm, would you do like a slot together puzzle? No, that'd be tricky. I'll have to think about that. Like stained glass puzzles, and ideally you would want it in a way that um, if you slip them into whatever finished position they go into, uh, so they don't fall out, but you want them upright so light can shine through them. Oh, I'll have to think about that. There's got to be a way to make that happen. Yeah, I'm already thinking of the second round of interesting puzzle projects, um, or products, I guess. At this point, I could very easily just start doing a run of weird and interesting puzzle decor and uh, what do you call like coasters and trays? They're not utensils, are they? They're not really flatware. They hold flatware. I don't know what to call that. Anyway, all that's beside the point. I'm super jazzed that worked out, especially after these last 2 days of failures. I should not make that gesture. I am sorry to any of you in the UK. Do you do that in Australia? Is that a? It's not a thing in the US. I don't think it's a thing in Canada, but I'm not flipping anybody off. Um, yeah. So I could do that in acrylic. I might be able to do something like that in cork. Um, might be hard to do cork on the laser cutter because cork is very heat resistant and it doesn't like to cut well with hot tools. Um, maybe slate, although I have yet to. I've seen etching on slate. I don't think I've ever seen a straight cut with a laser on slate. I might be able to use one of the like a bandsaw or a tile cutting saw to get some of the shapes I need. Got some very fine piece sizes, so that might be a little hard to do. I'll be interested to try it at some point. I could probably use like some polymer clay to make some, but I mean, acrylic looks pretty decent by itself. It doesn't. It's not surpassed by polymer clay. Although, if I wanted to paint something, I could also use like a paper clay and varnish it. but I can use the laser cutter to cut the molds that I would mold the clay in before it dries and sets up. Mm-mm-mm. So this was definitely a good achievement for the day. I'm super jazzed. Jazz, jazz hands. Um, I still have that headache that's been pounding for like 3 days. It's making me a little punchy right now, but just a little. Um, doesn't interfere with my being happy with this. So I'll get some nail files filed on the edges, give a color wash. Like the star, I'm going to whitewash. The front of the coaster where the star pieces fit in, I think blue. And the back of the coaster is on here. That could be the red and white stripes. That's not a bad way to do it. So you got red, white, and blue coaster, and they stack with a red, white, and blue tray. I was going to have it on like the inside, like if you put the back on the coaster, and then like this is where the puzzle pieces go in. I was going to have it cut lines to where the pieces fit in here, but they're all pretty self-explanatory. Like they're not super complicated puzzles. Like like this one's really obvious. It just slots right in there, and then you just need two short legs to finish off the arms on this. Um, we've got a couple of these where you've got this. I mean, it fits in a point. Once you've got it in the point, you realize that you only have to find. You could try a few of the small ones like this and see what you can get out of it. You're going to realize pretty quickly that it makes more sense to do this. Oh, let's try something here. So we do that. Oh, that's because that's one of the pieces. That's how it goes together. So yeah, I mean, it's with the set number of pieces you have and the shape required to make them work, that you're going to find the coaster solutions pretty quickly. Getting them together in the bigger one, that's a little more like, oh, I don't know. You can also use them as tangrams. Although there's not a square, is there? No, not really. You have a trapezoid kind of thing. That's not, no, no, no. I do not think there is a way. I do not think George Takei. No, his name's Takai, isn't it? I don't remember. Um, no, can't make that one work. Yeah, it's just sort of like, what kinds of ways can I put these together? And it's there's a very finite way to do this. Can I make some other shapes with it? Maybe. It's not quite as versatile as tangrams. Still kind of fun to play with. That looks sort of like the Decepticons. It's been a long time. All right. So that's sort of the progress I have to report tonight. I'm I'm sorry I'm in such a weird mood. No, I'm not. I'm not sorry at all. But victory can be like that sometimes. Let's try that. Victory is mine. Do 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 do. I'm super happy with this design. That's sort of fun. That's a cross between a Decepticon and a pineapple, so it's a pineapple con. Okay, yeah. So seeing how well this turned out, not only can I do this one multiple times from now on, but I can do some variants on this and make other things. Like I'm not sure what else I would make out of this. Like you can make some trivets for putting hot kitchen pots on, and just simple puzzles if you want to. You can do. It would be like it'd be sort of like a one shot, but my brain says like, wouldn't it be fun to make like soaps or like makeup kits or other things where like they're individual tiles of little uh, oh watercolor sets. Oh, that would be so fun. That would be so fun. Like you make like each of these little things is a little tray with individual watercolor. That would be so awesome. I like it. Yeah, so you dip your brush in water and you rub it in there, and now you can do some watercolor painting. But each one of these little trays you can put into one of these and have a palette of it doesn't they don't have to be triangles. You like a more often used colors could be the bigger pieces. And then oh, wow, I love this idea. I really kind of really like this idea. Um, so they all fit in here like a puzzle. And then to make the bigger star inside the tray is a much bigger palette full of different colors. Oh, and like some of the bigger pieces, like uh, this could be your water, the little water cup on your palette, and these could be the more commonly used colors, and these could be some other commonly used colors, or maybe some form of resist, or I just I'll have to really think about it, but yeah, I could see making a painter's palette like that. Oh, that would be so much fun. Ah, I don't know why that didn't occur to me before, like just this moment. I love brainstorming new ideas, even if the brain that's storming is throbbing right now. Oh man, I think I've had like a head cold or something lately. It's really just been giving me that thumping headache. Comes and goes. It does go away during the day. But yep, so that's where I am on this one. I'm happy this turned out as well as I had hoped. I'm gonna play with my puzzle. I do think it's funny that this one just just for the variety, just to try to get the different varieties of pop out pieces that are uniform and easily mixable with one another. I thought it was funny that it turned into Star Trek. Dun, 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 dun. But alrighty. So I think that sort of sums up this project. Um, so I will do some continued work on them, and a secondary update by the end of the month. But other than that, I think we're done with this one. This next week is sort of like doing a few more finishing touches on a couple of the other ones, like the board game and the book. I don't think the animation is going to be done by the end of the month. Maybe if I'm lucky and just have enough time. I doubt it. But um, yeah, I'll keep updating each. Like I like this pattern of a daily live video each day. Um, and even when I'm not working on a new project every week, like that last week of being able to finish up what I'm working on, uh, I will keep you updated on the progress of those. Tomorrow is um, Views Day, so that's watching a live reaction to Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I did it again. I am sorry. Guardians of the Galaxy 2? And then, um, yeah, and then let's see, tomorrow, Tuesday, update on what I'm doing on these projects. And I've got a couple other videos to edit tonight and tomorrow for my other channel. But oh, I need to do a video game review and creative prompts. I think I'll try to do it by tomorrow night. Um, it, the pattern that would follow this week would have been Monday, but I did not get the chance to see if I could access some of those files on my other laptop because I have a few older video game reviews, but that laptop won't boot up. So I need to do the repair that will let it boot up or transfer the hard drive over to something else and pull the files. But if that fails, I can still make a new one. I can make a new video game review file. And then health and well-being for Thursday, and that'll finish off this month. And I'll start another batch for next month. Still not sure if I'm gonna do 3 a week. So that would be book, movie, board game, product or service, taste test, art or music, video game, and then maybe some of my own creative projects or mental health and well-being. Maybe alternate back and forth. But like 8 would get you 3 a week for 2 2/3 week. And so like doing the third, maybe doing a mental health and well-being for 8, and then 9 can be some of my own creative projects. So that would be 3 per week for 3 weeks each. That might make more sense. So where we are. So 1, 2, 3. That would get me all the way to 22nd for those videos. And if we start doing what we're doing right now with a weekly project, that'll be food related project starts on the 3rd of February. Art on the 10th, and video game on the 17th, and 24th through the 2nd is sort of a wrap-up week. And then again, starting on the 3rd, new book, maybe. Maybe I'll write another book. And after that, I will do another video, but I will not do another animation. Alrighty, we're at 40 minutes. I can let it go now. Sorry. Rambling, but yeah. Thanks for joining me tonight. I will see you tomorrow.